Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to whatever time zone you're in. I know actually I literally have people in multiple time zones and even multiple countries. So, good morning, whatever it is for you. I'm hoping you're having a great day, a great weekend, whether you worked or you had the time off to play games like Marvel Crisis Protocol from Atomic Mass Games. So, we're going to talk about that today. My previous video just kind of gave a breakdown on how you assemble your team, kind of reduce a little bit of that stress and anxiety of new players wanting to get into it, especially those that are making that transition from, I don't know why I'm pointing over here, but uh, the transition from, say, Warhammer 40,000 or Age of Sigmar, Bolt Action, War Machine Hordes, and you're just tired of forking out tons and tons of money and just having just a not that great of a game to making a transition over to Marvel Crisis Protocol. But before you make that leap, you've had questions about teams affiliations, how you assemble your army, that sort of thing. Today, we're going to talk about the crisis cards. These are the mission cards. This is one of the other things that a lot of people talk about the most over other aspects of the game is what are the missions like? And that's what I want to be able to talk about today. I think it's one of the most important things. I'm going to try to break this down Barney style. I'm not even sure that's a term. Maybe I'm dating myself on a term. Maybe. I don't know. Let's try not to boomer this too much. All right, here we go. So let's talk about collecting all of these Marvel Crisis Protocol crisis cards. Now, what are the crisis cards? These these are your mission cards. As I said in the previous video, that's really all these things are is just your mission cards. That it you're the only other way to there's multiple ways to play the game. I should say is there's Ultimate Encounters, which is a multiplayer game where it's usually two or three on one. There's league play, there's draft play, and of course tournament play. But with the exception of the Ultimate Encounters, they all use these missions. The only other one would be just a friendly game where you decide, hey, let's not even use missions. Let's see who can beat up the most characters by the end of 6 rounds, or who can cause the most damage total. Maybe you got your own way of coming up with a mission. But regular gameplay that makes this a balanced game is centered around these crisis cards, these mission cards. Now, you do need two of each type of card. Luckily, the core box set, which I highly recommend over and over and over and over again, you get three of each type. There's the extraction missions and the secure missions. You're going to get three of those of each of those, and you only need to select two of them when which you're gonna randomly draw, which I talked about in the previous video. Now there are 16 additional missions out there that are available in certain character boxes, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Bringing us to a total of 22 total crisis cards, 11 extraction and 11 secure. That gives you a variety to choose from. Now, I would like to point out that just because a crisis card comes in a different character box, let's say, I think it's Hell Hath No Fury or something along that lines from the, let's see if I can, here we go. The Demons Downtown has our comeuppance, come due. That's from the Ghost Rider box. Do you have to have Ghost Rider in your team to use that? No. Do you get a benefit from having Ghost Rider on your team? Does he benefit from that crisis? No. It's just a flavor text card that they gave out that would be great. It comes with its own tokens, everything. You don't need those characters to do that. The only times that you need characters for a specific mission is if you're playing an ultimate encounter, and that's because you need the bad guy, which will be Magneto, as of right now, Magneto, Thanos, the Hulk, and Ultron are the only ones right now have ultimate encounters. But Dormammu is about ready to roll out, and he'll have his own ultimate encounter. So, with the exception of those, which aren't for regular competitive play or tournament play, league play, Besides those ultimate encounter cards having those specific requirements, you don't have to worry about them. So easy peasy. So moving on, let's talk about the extraction cards. Now, the extraction cards are just like they sound. These are missions that require your characters to move around the battlefield, locate an objective, a person, an object, something, and retrieve it, hold on to it. And as you can see here with Panic Grip City as evacuation efforts continue, which is a mouthful, but it gives you the setup. You're going to have 4 tokens, and there's a reference on how you set it up. There's also how you score at the end of the cleanup phase every turn. Now, it also has the details on how you interact with those citizens to get a hold of them and claim them. Now, every crisis card, whether it is a extraction or it's a secure crisis card, they're going to have different ways of interacting or have interactabilities from card to card. So don't expect ones like this. For example, this has a special interact where if it's your activation where you get to mess around with one of your characters, you can spend 6 power to immediately score 2 victory points and take that citizen off the battlefield, which would be denying your opponent those victory points. Now that sounds really awesome, but it's a lot of power, and if you're behind on points, you might be able to squeeze out a couple victory points, maybe 1 or 2 more victory points by holding on to that character before you evac them. So it's something to consider, or you might be so far ahead of points by doing that. Not only are you guaranteeing essentially 2 rounds of scoring, but you're also going to remove that from the battlefield. So there's a lot to go into thinking, but that's more of right in the middle of the game, and that's a strategy I can't help you with until you sit down and play the game, and we're like going step by step with it. So let's talk about the secure crisis cards. Now these ones have the blue lettering, and similar to a lot of things are very similar to the extraction cards, but in this case, your characters are going to move around the battlefield. They're going to find an objective. They're going to plant their feet and say, no, you move. And they're going to do their best to hold on to them. Now, it's the same thing. They're going to have their own setup like this one. You're going to place 4 extremis consoles around the board. You're going to score victory points for holding on to it. Now, in this case, they also have an ability, an interact ability that allows you to remove damage from a non-dazed character within range 2 of the console. So let's just say the character that's holding it is damaged. You can spend that 2 power to remove, and if they're already a character that can heal or remove damage, boy, that's kind of a smart idea to plant a character there that can reduce damage or heal it, or both. And then you can pop off the console there and heal even more damage. So that character is just not going to go away. Or you have a character that's nearby that's in trouble, and you need to keep them from going to the dazed or the KO or knocked out phase or side. This is perfect to use. So really thinking ahead, like which characters are good for securing, like let's say Luke Cage, or maybe the Hulk even. Or I think the Hulk could be, there's an argument, the Hulk and She-Hulk could be either or, because it's going to be hard to knock out 20 health off of a character, but it's also how are you going to knock out 20 points if they're going to grab an objective and just walk away with it. I mean, are you going to waste time trying to take out the Hulk or She-Hulk, or are you going to focus on other objectives? So a lot comes down to who you have and who your opponent has. But the only things that you can control is who's in your team roster, who ends up being in your actual squad, and your team tactics cards. Because once again, you're going to be randomly drawing your secure and extraction cards. So what 2 cards you're going to be using total is up in the air. So just focus on what you can control. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about is choosing the right one. And this is kind of what I was talking about with, like, say, the Hulk or Luke Cage being good for secure. Assembling your team roster should probably be the first thing you do. So whether that's based on your team affiliations, like the video I talked about prior, where You can either go unaffiliated, you can go with a single team affiliation, multiple team affiliations, and the benefits and slight detriments that each of those have. So, for example, in this case, I've already assembled my team. I've got some great team tactics cards, which we're going to kind of go over a combination here in a minute. Now I got to choose my crisis cards. Well, looking at my roster, which I can still, this is like pre-game stuff before I would sit down with my opponent and play. Maybe I would be looking at some future combinations. And this is something I would recommend is take a look at your favorite team, your favorite characters, and look at the different crisis cards and team tactics cards and see what works best with who. The most important thing, though, I would say is team roster and crisis cards, because those ones you're going to want to do your best to maximize for scoring. So in this case, I would have gone with any character with a high energy defense for like the Deadly Meteors mutate civilians. I would have looked for any of my characters with a high energy defense so I can maximize how many dice I'm rolling for controlling that origin bomb, because I want to score those 3 victory points. That is huge. There's only 3 of these origin bombs to secure on the tabletop, and I want to secure at least one, contest another. I mean, at the very least. And then if I can score 2 of these, I mean, 3 victory points a turn is huge. And then if I've got 2, that's 6 victory points. 6 victory points in a game where you go to 16, 2 or 3 turns, 3 turns, and the game's over if I hold that for three turns. So just something to consider when you are looking at your team roster. Say Captain America, I believe Iron Man has a high energy defense. I don't think, say, like Venom, I think he has a 2 energy defense versus, against energy. So probably not ideal for holding, but he might be good for, say, an extraction or kicking somebody off a secure mission. So just something to consider when you're assembling your teams and your crisis cards. Now, here's a great example of kind of, not a great example, this is a mild example. After you've assembled your team, you got your team tactics cards. Here's one of the most, I think, underused cards, the team tactics cards, is the mission objective. Essentially what this card does is allows you to spend 2 power for a character that is about ready to drop a token from, like, for example, here we have the Scrolls infiltrate world leadership. There's 3 decoy tokens. Once you pick them up and you find that scroll agent, the other tokens go away, and whoever's got that scroll agent basically has the football, and the entire offensive line is bearing down on you, or defensive line. One of the two. I don't play baseball, so I couldn't tell you what that is. Or hockey, basketball, maybe, I don't know, darts, whatever that terminology is. So the once you have that objective, maybe you're about ready to drop it, be able to spend 2 power to hand it off to a nearby allied character is huge. So, like, here's a great example. There's this really old-timey movie, you might have heard of it, called Avengers Endgame. And there's a scene near the end of the movie where Spider-Man, Peter Parker, gets the Infinity Gauntlet. He's running away and he's activating kill command or kill code and taking out aliens left and right. And then all of a sudden there's all this fire and missiles and lasers and stuff coming from a big spaceship. And it's just so overwhelmed. He's just a kid, right? And so he's curled up in fetal position, and then in swoops Captain Marvel, not the strongest Avenger. I really should point that out. And she's like, "Hey, Peter Parker, ara. And he's like, "Hey, here you go, take this." And he's like, "Thank you, I'll talk to you later, Peter Parker." And so basically they just spent their 2 power points to pass that on, because he's about ready to drop it. That boy was just about done. So he passes off to her. She gets to have her cringy, weird, all the female superheroes from this massive battlefield come over to this one particular point. Maybe they all just wanted to be around Peter Parker because, older lady, younger guy, I don't know. And then they have their cringe A-Force-ish that just falls flat, and they go on to do the day. the big point to take away from this is the fact that that is a good example of mission objective. Somebody's about ready to drop it, spend your power, pass it on to another character. Let's say in game, let's say we have Spider-Man, Peter Parker's about ready to go down, hands it off to She-Hulk, who's got like 16 health left. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to walk away with this because she's already walking slow. Nobody's going to catch her or take her out. And they've got to deal with everybody else. So, you know what? Just let her have those 2 victory points. Congratulations, because she's now probably going to be essentially out of the game trying to hide that ball. Now, I really got to do something for full disclosure here before somebody freaks out. I am obviously, well, maybe not obviously, I should point out I am a huge fan of Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Not Brie Larson. Carol Danvers, I think it was a little dry in her performance, but I really love Carol Danvers, the whole Captain Marvel. Even the original Captain Marvel, though my brief experience with him in the comics was, well, very brief. And, you know, and my cosplayers, Ashlyn Day, hey, with their slightly racier original-ish costume. Actually, I think that's like her second costume. But, hello, give me a call later. Anyways, I am a fan. She's not the strongest Avenger, hands down, not the strongest. Get over it. But let's talk about Crisis cards, because that's what you're here for. So these are the current boxes that come out with different Crisis cards in them. So every box, just so you guys know, if you're not aware, you're going to get your miniature in it. You're going to get some tokens of some sort. You're going to get the character card for all the characters in there. Extra bases, with the exception of anybody that's on a large base. And you're also going to get the Team Tactics cards and in these cases, Crisis cards. There's one that's not up here, and that is MODOK, but he also has a Crisis card. Now, left to right, top to bottom, we got the Hulk, the Spider-Man and Ghost Spider, Black Panther, Killmonger, Black Bolt, and Medusa, Cyclops, Storm, Star-Lord. Who's that? We've got Mordo and the Ancient One, who is not out yet, but is coming. Kingpin, Mr. Sinister, my boy. Dormammu, who does not have a card or is not out yet. Cable and Domino, Thor and Valkyrie, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, Thanos, the Inevitable, and Doctor Strange and Wong, Ghost Rider, and Magneto and Toad. And of course, who knows what other cards are going to come out this year, if there's going to be any more characters this year, because we've got another 3, 4, 5. I think we got like 6, 7 boxes that still have not released yet. See, we got 2, 4, 6 more characters, 7 more character boxes coming out between now and the end of the year, which includes Mordo and Ancient One and Dormammu. So, but out of all those, these are the only ones with other Crisis cards coming. So who knows? We might get a couple more Crisis cards by the end of the year. Maybe just one. We still looking at Juggernaut and Miss Marvel and Colossus have all been named officially as characters that are going to be coming out. We've seen a Miss Marvel character miniature, or at least one version of her, so we don't know if they'll have Crisis cards or not. But do you need these? No. Get these if you want them. That's all that matters, is if you want them or not. So let's try to wrap this up here. So which do you choose? Well, what's your overall goal, guys and gals? What is it that you want out of Marvel Crisis Protocol? You just want to collect miniatures? Do you want to play the game? What type of player are you? Because let me at least point out that regardless if you're a competitive player or playing against yourself, if you are playing in tournaments, casual, in leagues, whether you're playing video games, playing solitary with cards, you're a competitive player. You're competing against somebody, even if you're competing against yourself or an AI. So congratulations, you're a competitive player. Let's drop that terminology where, oh, I can't stand competitive players. We're all competitive players if we're playing the game. Hands down. Let's just forget about that. So let's focus on the types of play. Are you a casual player? Or are you a league player? Which are you're kind of synonymous together. And then, or are you a tournament player or a league player? because that's kind. I mean, you know what? You can be any combination of those. Where if you can split your focus between all three, fantastic. If you've got more to the tournament, less on the casual, okay, that's fantastic. But what? How many of these crisis cards do you need? It's however many you want. Still, at the end of the day, is it important to you to have every single available option, not only so you can choose from it, but also you can study up on it. Now, there's a lot of free databases out there online that you can look at, that you can take a peek, see what those how those cards play. Maybe your friends have it. You take some screenshots, whatever you want to do. If you'd like to strategize ahead of time, or just focus on what you have in front of you, what your favorite team is or team's favorite characters are, and focus on that aspect. And the other thing is, well, what's your budget like, really? Is that kind of goes into choosing. If you're only able to get maybe one character a month or every few months, okay, then and you want to focus on more on the crisis cards, then snag up those crisis cards if they're that important to you. It's not a difficult decision. It all ultimately comes down to is, what are you trying to get out of it, and who are your favorite characters. Really comes down to who are your favorite characters, because if Thanos, you hate Thanos because he's just a garbage character, then what good is it going to do you to buy him and just to get his crisis card? Is it really that important for that crisis card? And it might be. And if it is, it's great. There's your budget. Buy him, put him off to the side, maybe even sell him off to somebody and keep the crisis card, whatever it is that you want to do. But just focus mainly on your favorite characters first, because those are the ones that you are going to play with all the time. You're going to need them in your roster, and they're going to be the most important factor in playing the game, because you don't know what missions are going to be drawn. You don't know if you're going to be able to choose from extraction or secure. And out of the two cards, you have a 50-50 chance of getting the card that you want. And that's if you get to choose which deck you get to choose your card out of. So that's just a couple things that you really should consider when you are choosing your team, what kind of characters you want to run. Because let me tell you, there are a lot of characters, and they are in no way done making characters for this game. I mean, we have a bunch more characters still coming down the line. We're sitting at 96 characters right now. And don't let that number throw you for a loop, or the various combinations. I think several 100,000 different team combinations that you can come up with based on the number of characters you can have in a on a team, how many you need maximum for the mission, and how much they cost point wise, which you probably saw a video for that before. So you're looking at hundreds of thousands of different combinations, and that number seems even bigger and crazier. Most important thing, 10 favorite characters. 10. Okay, let me do this. This is 10. There we go. That's not that. Yeah, 10. 10 characters. 10 favorite characters. You're done. Pick your 10 favorite characters, and you don't need to do any more. And if you want to add on some more favorite characters as they come out, but go for your top 10. If they're available right now, or the 96 available, then snag them, build your team off of that, make it work, make it happen. As Tim Gunn would say, make it work. I try to make it work as best possible, but I tend to just go with whatever I feel like. If I want Captain America with Baron Zemo, Crossbones, Dr. Octopus, and Luke Cage in a team, I'm going to do it because I'm whimsical like that. But who knows what you like. So do me a big favor. Jump down into the comment section, leave a comment, especially to get an idea of what you like to do whenever you're choosing your crisis cards. Maybe you have some different advice that I would definitely benefit from, or maybe other players, especially those getting into the game, might be interested in choosing crisis cards, especially when it comes to those new players, because the current players that are knee deep in this have got every character. They're all painted and based, and they're like award winning ready. Okay, fantastic. They already know what they're doing. They already know what they're about. But it's those new players, or those kind of people on the periphery that bought the game. They're not too sure how much they want to get into it. they could use a little bit of unbiased advice. So throw it in there. Let me hear what your advice is. Put it down in the comments. Let me know if you want to hear more videos like this. I am working on another team tactics card style video. I'm going to have to break that down probably into 3 videos, one for that are based on team affiliations, one for unaffiliated, and one focused on specific character related cards to come up with there's just so many different combinations. There's so many cards out there that I can literally cannot cover them all anytime this lifetime. So just think about that. So let me know what you guys think. Please, if you get a chance, leave a thumbs up also. And you guys know, I know it's annoying because I don't like to hear it all the time from my favorite YouTubers, but we do live and die on your subscriptions, which are free. So if you just hit that red subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. If you got to do a thumbs down, cool. Just let me know why. Let me know why I get a thumbs down. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you in a few days with a Team Tactics card video. See you later.